Well, our next segment, it's a new one to the show. It's just been around for a few months, but seems to get a lot of good feedback. It's What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Beach blonde, bad-built butch body, Governor High Wheels, and he is a hot-ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
All right, so Jasmine Crockett has two entries in today's episode, and I'm actually going to throw in a little bonus, little lanyap for you Cajuns over there of a clip from Ilhan Omar in today's episode. But let's go ahead and start off with the great Jasmine Crockett. She is the congressional representative from Dallas in the district I'm sitting in right now. Let's start off with Jasmine Crockett gave you her rundown on her thoughts on Trump's first 100 days. Of course, they were terrible, the worst ever, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But she gave you a nice, concise list of the top 5 worst things about Trump's first 100 days.
All right, y'all. So it's been 100 days since you-know-who has been officially sworn into office. And we need to do a quick recap on what he has done. And yeah, it ain't good. So here we go with the top 5 diabolical, disastrous, deplorable, detrimental, dumb decisions by Don.
Nice alliteration.
Number 1, mass deportations, including American citizens. Number 2, these ridiculous tariffs. And let me tell y'all, like even the kids know that this is dumb. And let's not forget about his bestie, Elon, and Doge. The absolute destruction of checks and balances. And finally, not only cutting our federal services, but cutting our federal workforce. God bless each and every person that has dedicated so many years of service to this country as a federal worker. I see you. All right, so there you have it. Just 5 ways of this fool tearing up. Don't let anyone gaslight you. He's not just talking, he's doing. And we are truly watching our democracy unravel in real time.
All right, I didn't put all those edits in there. That was the way she edited her own video. So when you hear the gaps, that wasn't me, just to let you know. She was just doing one sentence at a time. And it kind of looks cool because it's jump cuts. But let's address this list. This is her top 5 worst of Trump's first 100 days. You tell me if you have a problem with this. Number 1, mass deportations. What's wrong with that? Now, she threw in there, of American citizens. I just love this lie because it's an impossible lie. You deported an American citizen? To where? Where would you deport a legal U.S. citizen to? If you return him to his home country, wouldn't that be America? Now, I love the obvious thing they're doing here, and you know this, you listen to WBAP, is they are conflating when a mom gets deported and she takes her citizen child with her voluntarily, even though she doesn't have to do it. She's the one who makes the decision to take that U.S. citizen back to her parents' home country of origin or whatever. So it's not like we are deporting them. Illegal immigrants are taking citizens with them when they get deported. And then number 2, tariffs. Now, there may be a legit criticism for tariffs in the economic philosophical sense, but she's not making it here. She's just tariffs. Tariffs are bad. Why? Because Donald Trump's doing them. You don't have to worry about why. Even if in 3 months we're going to find out that this led to fantastic new trade partnerships and better balance or open up all kinds of pathways for new U.S. opportunities. Now, it's just going to be bad because he did it. Number 3, the Doge cuts. What's wrong with Doge? What did Doge do wrong? Get rid of a bunch of waste and fraud and abuse? Maybe cut some of your friends' jobs, but that's the worst. Doge? Someone actually going through line by line the budget, cutting programs that don't work, cutting things that we don't need. That's what every president in your lifetime has said they want to do. I have clips of Biden saying it. I have clips of Obama saying it. Trump does it. Not just bad, worst thing in the world. Getting rid of the checks and balances, cutting federal workers, pretty much the same thing. Let's go back to the other clip from Jasmine Crockett today. Deporting randomly.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
Okay, not only does she not believe it, I don't think anybody believes that. I don't think anybody is randomly being picked up off the street and being taken to some country that they have no association with. Does anybody believe that that's true for 1 second? Now, I know you could probably find some window lickers out there who believe, but Jasmine doesn't believe that. Anybody in a position of power or anybody in the media, if you're smart enough to be a news anchor and just at least read a teleprompter, that's not true. Just randomly picking people up and sending them to other countries. And then once you have that false premise, you can say, how would you feel if other countries were picking people up and sending them here randomly? Well, I wouldn't be that upset if they were picking up illegal immigrants who happen to be American citizens and return them to America. That would be kind of the most normal thing in the world. And to finish off today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Say This Time, Ilhan Omar, everybody's favorite brother lover from Somalia, was asked by the Daily Caller, we going to have any more visits to go see Abrego Garcia in El Salvador? Because, the evidence keeps piling up. He's a gangster.
Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Abrego Garcia?
I think you should off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what? Congresswoman? Who should?
You.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, thanks.
I think you should bleep off. All right. I guess that's a no. I guess you got your answer. Just imagine if Republicans ran around doing that, just telling people in the press to F off. It's bad enough we get called fascists for calling them fake news. They're just sitting there, F off.
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Governor Hot Wheels. And he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Lisa over here said Ilhan Omar. I might as well just play it again because it's short. But Ilhan Omar told a reporter to F off from the Daily Caller. Twice she repeated herself, so it wasn't just
Congresswoman Omar, I'm Miles Morrell with the Daily Caller News Foundation. Do you think more of your Democratic colleagues should be traveling to El Salvador to advocate on behalf of Abrego Garcia?
I think you should off. Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, what? Congresswoman? Who should?
you.
Why me?
We're not taking any questions right now, but here you go.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, that's not very nice. I guess a lot of people agree that it's inappropriate for a congressman to be talking like that. Now, if they're off the mic and, they're not making a public statement, who cares if they cuss? But here's a little secret. Have you ever hung out with Congress people? Like, have you ever gone to D.C., go to a cigar bar that's on Pennsylvania Avenue, and then just listen to the people around you? Some of them cuss. Some of them don't. Some of them sort of do this little code switching thing, and they always act like they're being recorded. And some people have about 4 or 5 bourbons and just let it fly. So I don't think any of us are shocked that we have a grown adult in her 40s saying cuss words. Ugh. But I think a lot of us kind of do that little compartment in the back of our heads, knowing that if it was a Team Red member, or God forbid, Donald Trump did that, it would get a lot more of a reaction. And so I think that's where a lot of you feel sort of the unjust there. And not the fact that she said it. It's just another great example of who's the nice people, who's the empathetic people, who's the evil fascist, who's the vulgar, nasty people that want to tear everything down. We always do this. I don't want to say we, but many people who are politically charged, probably not you, but the partisans out there, they're not just content to try and win the debate of on your ideas based on their merit. They have to destroy the person that's arguing against them. And not just the person that's standing in the room with them, but just all of them. And that kind of tribalism, sort of exhausting, isn't it? All right, let's go to a happier little story. By the way, you can keep the emails coming, james@wbap.com. But yeah, Lisa said, well, glad our children can't hear that nasty mouth. Well, sometimes they will. But I got an email, and I got it on Tuesday. And it was a guy, Daniel from Burleson, writing in reference to the show on Monday. I'm just now getting around to this now because so much other stuff happened. But I thought you'd get a kick out of this. It says, hey, James. First, I want to say I really appreciate your show. Oh, thank you, Daniel. Great job. I'm not able to listen all the time, but I tune in when I can. Yesterday, I was able to catch the tail end of a caller at 440. I think he was Randy from Frisco. What caught my attention was that he's originally from Lawton, Oklahoma, and was originally a Democrat. Well, guess what? I'm originally from Lawton, Oklahoma, and was a pretty liberal Democrat. I first started the process of leaving them around 2007. And this is probably a really stupid question, but is there any way to contact this caller? I would love to visit with Randy, compare notes, so to speak. So here's the answer to that. Big fat no. God dang it, Daniel. No, this is not the love connection. And I know this isn't like a guy trying to hook up with a girl. And something I don't share with you is how many times I do get calls from dudes. It's always one way. It's never a woman that wants to find a guy. But like Samantha in Dallas, she's one of the semi-regular callers. She has a real tiny voice, and she's always upbeat in a good mood, and she sounds so cutesy. And I've gotten about 4 offers. Hey, can you give me Samantha in Dallas? Can you hook me up with her? First off, even if I could, I don't know her number, but even if I could, no. I'm not going to be sending random dudes, some thirsty dude up to Denton to go harass one of my listeners. I don't know anything about you. So this one's weird, and the reason why I'm bringing this up on the show when I ignore all the other ones from dudes being creepers is this doesn't have the creeper level on it. This is a guy trying to hook up with it, or does it? I don't know. But there is a special interest that I have to hear people's stories about how they did the walk away, about how they transition, because it's an old trope, but it's very true. If you're young and liberal and not a liberal, you don't have a heart. If you're old and not a conservative, you don't have a brain. Ha, that's very funny. But there's a big kernel of truth to that. And the statistics bear it out in almost every election. Younger people skew liberal, older people skew conservative. So that means necessarily that there's a whole lot of people, as they get life experience, as they go through it, as they pay taxes and buy a house and have career issues, that they tend to transition. Well, that's a loaded word in 2025. But I'm interested in their transition from Democrat to Republican, because one of the hardest things it is to get any human being to admit is that they did something wrong. I mean, it starts with kids. You have kids? Did you have kids? Wasn't it impossible to get them to admit that they ever did anything wrong until a certain age? And that was a great sign of maturity for someone to say, well, you know what? Not only was I wrong, I've been wrong this entire time. Or, a lot of them have different experiences. And I think most of them hinge around the fact that I just wasn't really paying attention that much. And then when I did start paying attention, when I did start reading, when I did start going through YouTube holes and reading holes and blogs and whatnot, I found out I didn't really know the subjects that well. And the better I learned about them, that sparked my transition. So I always love hearing those stories. But no, dude, no, I am not hooking up Daniel and Burleson with Randy from Frisco. We have social media. We have Facebook. We have Instagram. We have all kinds of tools at your disposal. No, I am not. Why? Because you're from Lawton, Oklahoma, and you both used to be Democrats? See, I think some of y'all just need a friend, and y'all need a like-minded friend. Either you've just done this natural thing that a lot of people do, and they grow increasingly isolated as they get older. Or I think a lot of you people who've gone through the transition have lost a lot of your friends. I think we all lost some friends during COVID. I think we've all lost some friends, whether they admit it or not, over this Trump hatred. He's a Nazi. He's literally Hitler. So that's one of the reasons I try and do the listener meet and greets. It's not just so you can meet me. It's so you people can meet each other. And if that's how we got to do it, that's fine. But this is what reminds me, I am looking for a place to do the next James Show listener meetup for May. I don't have a place picked out. I don't even have a city picked out or an area picked out. It's all up in the air. So if you know someone who owns a bar or a venue that could host this, or if they're a manager there, just someone that listens to WBAP, that's where I will start. I'm not going to go to some place that doesn't know who we are, doesn't know WBAP. I'm not going to give them all kinds of promotion and business if they haven't showed us love first. So if you know anyone that owns a bar or runs a bar, or it could be a restaurant, just someplace with a meeting room that would like to host our next event, I would like to do it before the end of the month. I was thinking the week before Memorial Day. Just let me know, James@WBAP.com, or you can find me. Facebook is what most people do, but I'm on Instagram, X, YouTube, all that good stuff as well. Samantha in Dallas has called in to respond, but I don't know which part you want to respond to. What has you calling in today, Samantha?
Man, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse. I just clicked on my radio, and there you are, denying me my husband's. I can't even believe it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. All right. So for people just joining us, Samantha, every once in a while when she calls in, because she's a semi-regular caller, we'll have some guy saying, hey, can I get Samantha's phone number? Or do you have contact info for Samantha or email or something? And look, I'm not gonna be the go-between, because what if it's a guy that ends up being terrible to you, Samantha?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I die, I'm blaming you.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want that on my head. But do you find that concerning, creepy, or is that sort of flattering that guys, based solely on hearing your voice, want to know more about you?
No, I don't think it's creepy. I don't assume people are weirdo stalkers or creep or anything like that. I mean, how do you meet anybody if you don't like extend your hand, and take a risk or whatever? I think it's actually quite normal
to meet meet strangers off the radio.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference? You're out in public and somebody walks up to you and starts talking to you, and you don't know them from anyone.
Well, you know what? So let's do both sides of this. Number one, I say it's just your voice, but it's not just your voice. People can tell that you're kind of a positive person just from the last few statements you've had. But also, your political opinions are very attractive to guys who have been beat down. Like if you've ever dated someone who is your political opposite, that can be quite taxing and exhausting. So not only do you sound small and cute and happy and upbeat and like you'd be a fun companion to sit next to on a long car ride, you actually have the political leanings that are kind of rare these days for a woman who's still single.
Yeah, I'm pretty opinionated. I'm German. I have very thick German blood. I'm very opinionated about everything. Yeah, I mean, it's just common sense. I think anyone that's paying attention is going to see, close to where I'm at. So, well,
what's your explanation on how you're single now? Do we give out your age or whatever?
Yeah, you can. I don't really care. I mean, I have nothing to hide. It's just, I don't know. I don't care. You've already blabbed about where I live. So.
Yeah. So how are you single now? If you're so awesome, how do you explain being in the middle ages here and single?
Yeah. I work a lot, and I don't know. I think I'm pretty just opinionated. I don't really socialize very much. Like I don't go out. If I do go out, it's alone, and I push a lot of people, away. Not in a bad way, but discourage. I have given my phone number out, and I guess maybe it's part of society, right? Like I gave my phone number to someone. He's a little bit younger than me, and just to see, what he's going to say. And of course, he starts talking about my underwear, and I say, "Is this the kind of conversation that you have with people you just met? I mean, is this what you say?" And so I think people just don't understand anymore what respect is, or just being normal in society. Like what do you talk about? And he's not a bad guy. I'm not trying to put him down. That was his icebreaker, and I guess television has conditioned a lot of people, or maybe video games or something. I don't really know.
All right. Well, Samantha, you never answered the question. What's going on with your underwear? I'm kidding. I don't want to know. But listen, I am not giving out your number.
What kind do I wear?
Yeah, right. I am not giving out your number. Is that okay, or should I start connecting you with randos?
You can give it.
So weird. I can't. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Can you just come to the next event and promise me you're going to come to the next event? And if they want to meet you, they can come there.
I can try for sure. Yeah, because sure I can do that. But I am older, and I'm not I don't wear a bunch of makeup and stuff. I'm not I guess a typical female. I'm pretty plain, You saw me.
You're doing a terrible job describing yourself.
You tried to ignore me, but I didn't let you do that. No.
She's short, she's top heavy, and she's about my age. That's all we need to know. Samantha, thank you very much. I'm out of time here.
All right, no worries. Bye.
That's the great Samantha in Dallas. All right, now joining me from Dallas Express, DallasExpress.com, your favorite alternative news source. Actually, why are we even calling it alternative these days? It has replaced the Dallas Morning News for many enterprising information seekers out there. Chris Putnam, welcome back to the show.
Hey, James, good to hear from you.
All right, I was going to talk to you about Jacksboro and a couple other stories first, but then you kind of slipped to me before the show that you have some inside polling info on North Texas' favorite legislator, Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah, not so much polling info as campaign finance info. And, you know, you and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about Sweet Jasmine. I call her Sweet Jasmine. And, you know, just the fact that a lot of people, you know, think she's stupid, and she's actually not.
No.
And so I had the occasion to visit with a couple of friends from DC that are they represent one of the biggest super PACs in the country, and of course they're doing a tour right now across Texas, looking at all these races, and you know, trying to figure out, you know, where they want to make investments for this upcoming primary season.
They call it investments, huh?
Well, where they want to spend their money, obviously, which candidates they want to bet on.
It is an investment.
Yeah, for sure. I know firsthand, as you know. And so, we obviously get around to talking about Jasmine because, you know, the question is, you know, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in particular, like, who's the single legislator that needs to be targeted? And you know, I think most rational, critically thinking people would tell you it's, you know, Congresswoman Crockett. But, you know, as you know, this tour that she's on, this national media tour, is purposeful. You create a huge small donor network by doing all these appearances on things like Jimmy Kimmel and, you know, all of these other national shows. And just last quarter, she raised almost $1.7 million and now has $2.6 million on hand. That is literally 7 months before the calendar turns when voters start paying attention, which gives you another, you know, couple of quarters to raise money. And I will tell you, somebody that ran that in 2020, the largest Republican primary race in the country, of $5 million on my side alone, that is a tremendous amount of money on hand this early.
How do you explain that? Just a small donor network adding up? Is this organic, or does she have some big money men that are throwing at her?
Well, she'll obviously have the lobby money. In incumbents, they have their own PAC. The House, both parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, they have their own PAC, and members of Congress tithe into it. They think of it as like an incumbent protection insurance policy. And then, you know, they're able to draw out of those funds if they're in competitive races. So it's not only she'll have all the lobbyist money, which she has a considerable amount of lobbyist money, including hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of PAC money, which she claims she would never.
It's my understanding that pile of money is usually the incumbent protection pile of money, but also if you're an incumbent who strays from the plantation and you start voting away from the party's interests, that's also the money that's going to be taken away from you and giving to someone who's preferable.
It's pretty rare, but yeah, there are examples of that. They're more rare.
So what are these?
Point is, you know,
what are the politicos saying? Is there really a credible challenge to her if she's raised this much money?
A lot of people aren't going to like my answer. The answer is no, not right now. You know, there's one other candidate, Sheldon, and seems like a reasonable fellow. I've never met him personally. I know a little bit about his financial situation in terms of, you know, the amount of money he's raised. But what I don't think people understand is the scale. I ran against a 30-year incumbent in the heart of the defense industry, and she had $600,000 on hand at the time that we filed. Jasmine has $2.6 million with 2 quarters to go. And wow. It's a real, it's hard to beat the money. Right or wrong.
Well, I don't think anybody's heartbroken over that. We all kind of just assumed this was a dedicated blue district anyway. So, I mean, I don't think anyone's really surprised by that. It may be a little discouraging how calcified she is in her position, but I don't think that's really much of a shocker.
Well, to me, it's not even a question about whether it's blue or not blue. I just like to have like a sane person that, you know, doesn't think that, you know, that you're violating somebody's constitutional rights who's in the country illegally, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like basically understands our laws and our constitution.
Well, I also I kind of like the people who are just playing the game instead of the true believers, because, if you're ideological a squish, then perhaps you'll start voting better in the future when your incentives change.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. The thing that's always interesting with her, it's just constantly fascinating to me, is how she turns on and off the ghetto. Like, it's just, it seems like every time we get closer to the weekend, here come the reels on X, and the language gets saltier and crustier. And of course, I think maybe most people don't know. I mean, maybe most people in her district don't know that it is pure theater. It's an act. The woman went to private schools her entire life. She's completely articulate. and she was on Kimmel the other night. So contrast what you saw on Kimmel the other night with some of this stuff you'll see like in the last couple of days just on social media. It's hilarious.
Chris, what the heck is going on in Jacksboro, this sleepy little town that has a police chief and 10 officers? They just had their police department suspended here. The sheriff's office has come in and taken over, and they're now responding to the calls. And I can't find out why or what happened, and I don't think anyone knows yet.
Well, there's a little bit of information out there. So apparently back in January, or around holiday season, there was some sort of incident between certain members of the police department and the city manager. The city manager showed up to some event or events intoxicated, and
what?
The officers, yeah,
okay,
and the officers went through what they believe was the appropriate protocol, switching on their body cams and things like that, and starting to interview the city manager. And evidently, that was not well received. And as you know, I mean, effectively, your police chief is employed by your city manager. I also happen to be a city councilman deputy mayor, so I know how that works too. And so it's a really interesting situation. In fact, I believe that there is, as we sit here today, there are no police officers remaining in Jacksboro.
Yeah, I got that in a great report I heard on, or I read on DallasExpress.com. But
and one of the officer, and I apologize because I can't remember which association exactly, maybe the Municipal Police Officers Association of Texas, something like that, has formally requested that city manager be relieved of duty. And look, small town politics, I don't know what's happened here. But
who's the good guys? Are these cops, were they unjustly fired, or did they actually, because it sounded like they were doing the right thing and now they're being punished because they made this guy look like a jerk? And so I don't know if they got kicked out of their jobs because they did something bad or because they did something good.
Well, I think that's the question, right? And again, small town politics, there's a lot of crazy things that go on. I've seen a lot of really interesting nonsense through the years in different communities, and so it's kind of hard to qualify. If in fact the guy was intoxicated and acting inappropriately, and they were just doing their jobs, then I don't know how you can fault them. I once got pulled over by an officer in my own town, leaving a city council meeting for running a stoplight. And he's like, "Where are you coming from?" I'm like, "The city council meeting." But I didn't say, "Hey, you know who I am? You're not allowed to do this." I took the ticket and went and paid it.
Do you know who I am? Well,
yeah, that's the last thing you do. I don't know how people haven't learned that by now, watching enough YouTube.
Well, and here's where it starts to leave the realm of believable, and it almost feels like we're living in a simulation here, because the sheriff that had to come in and kick the police chief out and send all 10 officers walking, his name is Sheriff T-Bob Hogger.
You can't make that up.
T-Bob Hogger is your sheriff in Jack County. Is this a TV show? Are we in the Matrix and then the writers are just getting sloppy for USA season 246 or whatever we're in?
It's the redneck Matrix.
Is it like Boss Hog, except it's Hogger, and it's name's T-Bob and Hogger. So if people make fun of us for being like the Dukes of Hazzard, we're kind of earning it in this one.
I mean, that might be the greatest sheriff's name ever.
I know, isn't it? No wonder he got elected. What, are you going to vote for Ralph or Jeff or whoever else was running against him?
It's the best ballot name of all time.
All right,
running for sheriff.
The other story that has me slapping my forehead really hard is I read on the Texas scorecard, our mutual friends, the Texas House has passed Dade Phelan's bill that was supposed to regulate AI-generated deepfakes, but the wording is so vague that it sounds like it would regulate or outlaw memes.
without a disclosure. Yeah, without some form of disclosure that it's, a political thing, I guess.
Okay,
yeah,
so you do know about this. So it's House Bill 366, and it doesn't just apply to artificial intelligence. It also it applies to any image, audio, or video that did not occur in reality. So if I Photoshop or parody or anything to a real image, I have to put this disclaimer on it, or I could get $100 fine. It's
insane. Like, why are we wasting our time with stuff like this? These politicians are so thin-skinned, and that leadership crowd in the Texas House, I'll say it, they're corrupt. They are. They all do business together. They're the ones that conspire with Democrats in order to, continue to retain their friends in leadership positions so they control the agendas and monetize their roles in the Texas House. And they don't like public criticism. It's that simple. And I think it's disgusting.
Well, Chris, have you seen the Rhino list? Brian Harrison and I collaborated to put together a list and a map of districts of all the people that side, the 36 congressional representatives in the state house that side and vote with the Democrats on all these issues. Have you seen that?
Sure. Yeah, I know who they are, of course, yeah.
Well, you probably have them memorized, but help me get this list out. Yeah, you probably do know them all, don't you? It's a nice side effect of being an inside political guy. So I have the list out for people listening. If you want to get a copy of the list, in fact, I got an email for a copy earlier in the show today. I have the unofficial Rhino list that I've been working on with Brian Harrison, and I'll be happy to pass that along because I don't see any other way we fix these things like Dade Phelan and Burrows and all these other turncoats.
Yeah, I won't comment on anybody specifically. What I will say is we play the same game every session, and they partner as you described, very close with Democrats. And my only thing there is, look, if the shoe was on the other foot, do you really think that those Democrats in the Texas House would be collaborating with Republicans? There isn't a chance in hell. But we do it, so that a certain group of people can remain in leadership and control the agenda. And then we play this game where we run out the clock on conservative legislation every single session, and then pretend like we're out of time to pass a handful of like truly conservative bills. And everybody gets frustrated all over again. It's literally like Groundhog Day.
I know. And then we got to have 26 special sessions. And hey, my Team Blue listeners out there, don't you think it's a little disconcerting that when the corrupt politicians get bought off by the moneyed power brokers that they tend to support your philosophy and not mine? Doesn't that sound a little weird to you? Doesn't that raise any suspicions or cognitive dissonance in your head? Thank you very much, Chris Putnam. I appreciate it. Check out his website, everydaydallasexpress.com. Thank you, sir.